All right, Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down the Noles, and the best way to do that is, of course, to bring on James Coleman, Big Game James 36 on Twitter. James Coleman, fullback there at Florida State from 2002 to 2005. You can catch him now on Fifth Quarter College Football and his podcast, Sports Den Live. James, how you doing tonight?
Doing good, man. Just traveling with the sun, getting off work, getting ready to head home before I go out here and talk about it in Seminoles on radio. So,
yeah, let's talk up the Noles. What do you see anything on the recruiting trail right now? I'm pulling up some articles that are talking about some guys that recruit other guys.
You start telling people like, "Hey, you've got to come check out this place. I really like this place. It's amazing. I want you to come and experience it with me." So that's kind of what's going on. Then it happens everywhere, but this 2020 class is doing it a little bit different. They're making it a competition to see who could get more recruits. So I've never heard it like this. Like, these are guys that really and truly want to go there. So like, they're pretty much making it known that you're not gonna flip me. Like, you're not gonna flip Jeff Sims, who's out here saying, I actively want to have a scoreboard with Zane Herring, another guy who's pretty good, who just committed, and we're going to see who can flip or get the most commits for 2020. I mean, those are the guys that you want. Talking about your program, if you can get them and you can get your 4- and 5-star prospects to probably have a little just as much input and buy-in into the program, then you're going to be really good. I mean, you can finish. You can realistically finish with a top 10 class off the strength of what your guys are doing.
Based on your experience, James, and talking to other players more recently, do these coaches have a pretty good feel for whether this kid's heart is in it, he's invested, he's a Florida State kid, and basically, let's not screw this up, versus he's going somewhere else unless we really wow him, therefore we've got to take a different approach? And then likewise, you got kids that are just, man, I want to be an NFL player in 3 or 4 years, versus a kid that's weighing other things in terms of location and education and so forth. And the coach is having a feel for that.
Yeah, actually, the strategy that they're taking is a combination, and I actually like it for the most part, but it's a combination of what Clemson does and what I would say Bama did. Like, Bama now, Bama's a brand. You walk in, Saban offers you, you're either coming or you're not. But I think before, where, Jimbo had a better feel and Taggart, was trying to, win more hearts, it was, oh, it's okay. You come here. Oh, if you're going to go commit, I mean, you can commit to us, but you can go take other visits and you can do that. Whereas now it's, no, don't commit to us until you're ready. Like, but we're telling you this, we're taking 5 linebackers. We've offered 30. First 5 linebackers commit are the ones that we're taking. We like all of you guys. You all share similar characteristics. First 5 of you guys commit. That's what I'm going to do. And it's kind of putting a clock on these guys, and they'll tell them the minute you commit, there is no more going back and forth. You want to go somewhere else? That's not a problem. We'll go in a different direction as well, which is a little more shrewd. If I were on the other side of it, I wouldn't necessarily like it, but on the business side of it, I get 100% where the guys are coming from. But it works with Clemson. If you look at Clemson commits, they don't go anywhere else. They stay with Clemson. And I think it's having faith in your program and your brand and forcing guys to commit to you like they should. So I like what they're doing now. They're not doing – last year was very last 2 years, I believe, because they had such a short amount of time, was very targeted and too targeted. So that's why when you hear people say whiff, or when you miss on your quarterback, you literally only went after 3 in the first place, 2 committed elsewhere, and then you have 1 commit and he decommits later, you're left holding holding nothing. So now you commit you're going after 10 guys, 10 to 20 guys, knowing that you need to get 2, and you're going to keep recruiting until the end. just in case that guy decides that, you know what, I want to go see what else the world has to offer.
You know, James, there's got to be a huge advantage if you go to a place like Florida State, Ohio State, Alabama, Oklahoma, Clemson, et cetera, where you're gunning for the best players. There's really no ceiling to it. There's just you go for the best players. Sure, you may not go for this particular guy in California because he's giving you indication that he has no interest. And certainly you're a little bit more strategic than that. But basically, there's no limit. You go into any living room and you're a name brand and you can at least recruit legitimately with anyone versus if you're North Carolina, if you're Wake Forest, if you're Minnesota, if you're somebody like that, boy, I got to think that the strategy really comes into play as to, man, we want the best players here, but man, we don't want to waste our time chasing that 4-star when we could have gotten some really good 3-stars over here. But man, we don't want to miss out on the best player we can possibly get.
Right. Recruiting comes down to relationships and relationships, the ability to get somebody in the NFL, and winning. So if you, and I use winning as the third option because, to be honest with you, that's like even if a new coach comes in, there's no reason anybody should be going to Miami. There's no reason anybody should go to Florida State or really even Florida up to last year. But the ability to get people in the NFL, the relationships that those schools have with different pipelines, outweigh a lot of stuff. So like when you go to North Carolina, you've got to be able to win your home base. And that's really what I think makes the state of Florida this year ironic, and in the fact that we always have good skill players, like good wide receivers, good DBs. Every now and then, you know, we're usually top heavy at running back, not really deep at running back. But this 2020 class, the state of Florida is deep at every position. You've got, you've got 3 guys who are going to Elite 11. My partner trains all of them, which is ironic. Anthony Richardson, Jeff Sims, and Carson Beck, who committed to Georgia recently, not too far. Anthony Richardson, who decommitted from Florida. So you have 3 of your top guys in the state that are going to go compete with the best of the best in the Elite 11. That's not including Deuce Spain from out of Lakewood High School in St. Pete, who's getting everybody in the nation looking at him, as well as others. So you have like 6 or 7 quarterbacks in the state of Florida who are getting top Power 5 school looks. That typically doesn't happen here. We're not a state that is known for having the polished quarterbacks. I know we have a few. We have Bridgewater, you have Lamar Jackson, but even those guys weren't ranked really high when they came out. Running back, we've got one of the best running backs in the nation coming out of Lakeland, Florida, in Bowman. We've got I can't for Tufu out of I think that's how you say his last name, but he's out of the Tampa area. You've got wide receivers, man. Pick one. You can just go on Miami, walk around, and you can find your wide receiver. DBs, same thing. Offensive linemen on I-10 here in North Florida, you can find 5 of the top linemen in the nation just in North Florida, and that's not including Miami, who has some of the some really good 4-star linemen down there that way. So I mean, it's just so deep in the state. D tackle, DN, like whatever you want. So that helps the all the major universities here, and even South Florida will probably have a pretty good recruiting year for them, considering how deep the state is.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. We bring on the best bloggers, broadcasters, and writers in the industry to help me out with the best in discussion, debate, and analysis. And we always go to James Coleman for Florida State football talk. You can join him on Fifth Quarter College Football. Also, his podcast, Sports Den Live. So, James, the last time we were on, we were talking Alex Hornibrook, but at that point, he had not made his decision. He was just visiting Tallahassee. Now he's in camp with the team in particular. I was a bit surprised, I got to say, James, when you gave him very little chance of winning the starting job. And correct me if I'm wrong, it appeared as though your analysis had a lot to do with the comparison of talent between the two players, but also the situation. So it was a little bit of both. And do you still kind of hold to that? It's going to be very difficult for him to win the job.
One, it's very difficult to win a job when you don't get a chance to get in spring. I mean, the only advantage is that there's technically a new system, but it's really more new terminologies than it is an actual new offense that they're doing. Tag ran his lethal simplicity offense was a variation of what Kendall Browse and those guys did at Baylor. So like now where you had 25% of the offense, you now have 100%, where because Kendall Browse was one of the architects of that. Now, what comes in that is you don't have to be a runner, but you have to be a willing runner, and Hornibrook is not one of those guys. Now, even though he had success as a quarterback, he also threw the ball to the other team a lot. And the problem is in the ACC and with the schedule that Florida State traditionally plays, when you throw the ball to the other team advances the ball, and they have goons over there. They will score touchdowns and they will light your ass up. And I don't think he's seen that consistently in the Big Ten. It's a completely different brand of football. Ohio State, it's like playing. Hear me when I say it's not the same talent, but it's like playing Ohio State every week, where Ohio State has tremendous athletes at every position. You don't have that. Michigan State, just look at the recruiting. Michigan State recruits a bunch of 3-stars. Most of the schools recruit a bunch of 3-stars. Like now you're going up against Miami, Florida, Clemson. Trying to think who else is on our schedule.
You think the talent's better in the ACC than the Big Ten by that much?
I think the coaching is better in the Big Ten. I'll give but I think as far as just where football is played, you have so many. I'm a South snob. Maybe that's what it is. In the South, we just play football different down here, and it's a way of life, and it's just the speed. It's not. I guess it's different. If I wanted, like Wisconsin is a smash mouth. We are going to dictate this game, but with the run, and so is Michigan State. A lot of teams. If you look at what Penn State's have, I mean they have McSorley, but when you look at the two running backs that they've had the last couple of years, with Saquon Barkley being one of those, tremendous run game, passing game, and that's why I think, really, if you want to be honest with you, that's why I think our defensive coordinator struggled, like because he ain't never seen wide receivers like that consistently across the board. It's not that the Big Ten doesn't have a good brand of football; they have an excellent brand of football. It's just different. I guess that's the best way. It's like same thing. I would say the same thing if he went to the Pac-12. If I'm being honest, like if he transferred to a school in the Pac-12, just different. They throw it. Now you give me Wisconsin's running back, or Wisconsin's offensive line, I tell you, we'll run all through the ACC because we don't see that. Like it's different. You know that's my point. I think I'm trying to make.
Got James Coleman on the line talking Florida State football. You can join him on his Twitter feed there at Big Game James 36, and also Fifth Quarter College Football, Sports Den Live's the podcast. You can catch him on. Again, just go to Twitter, Big Game James 36. That's where you find him, and everywhere that he is talking college football and Florida State in particular. So, James Blackman, I want the take on him because I probably think much differently than you because you played at that level. I think like tiers of players, tiers of quarterbacks in this case, looking at the position. And where do you slot him? How good do you think he is now? What do you think the ceiling is?
Ooh. The ceiling? Third, number 2, number 3 quarterback in the ACC.
Okay.
He's not Trevor Lawrence by any means, but I don't think there's a quarterback in the ACC that's Trevor Lawrence. I think at the minimum, he's an 8-win quarterback at Florida State. He was an 8-win quarterback his freshman year without some really tremendous efforts by opponents and or lack of defense from FSU. So I mean, I think he's good. Again, like I said, he's a willing runner. He's not a great runner, but his ability to get rid of the ball and make a decision is what I think would have made Florida State so much better last year if he would have been the starter, which is why I was really high on him. But that's last year. But I think the leadership and the way the team has has rallied around him. And if you listen to some of the quotes and the sound bites that are coming out of there, you know, I'll even go as far as say this. I got frustrated last year with Florida State numerous times for a lot of different reasons, but James Blackman being one of them. I asked some guys over there in the front office type stuff, not the coaches. Hey man, tell me about James Blackman. Tell me about Slim. What's going on? Man, Slim's special. Oh man, he's special. He's really good. I'm like, okay, cool. I asked one of the coaches, hey man, tell me about Slim. Oh, James. Man, that kid's special, man. The kids love him in the locker room. That kid's special. Um, Campo, who's the videographer at Florida State when I was there, you know, tell me about Blackman. Man, that kid's special. So, man, everybody tell me, what kind of special is he? Is he special needs? Is he special like a transitional player? Because if he's special as a transitional player, why isn't he on the field? If he's special, then I can get it while he's sitting down. But I just think a lot of it, they talked so highly of him last year. They're still talking highly of him this year. I believe if guys can rally around somebody that they truly believe in, I believe you can see a special season happening. I'm not saying we're going to beat Clemson. I don't believe anybody's beating Clemson. That's just being honest. But I do believe FSU can be a resurgent team that could play if everything clicks the way it should click, and they look more organized and Browse is everything that he's been advertised to be. FSU's ceiling is a New Year's Six game.
No doubt about that. So next time we get together, in addition to whatever happens on the field that we need to talk about or in the news, got two things for you. I have ranked the coaches in the ACC. I'm going to send you that list. I don't want to hit you blindsided. I'm going to send that list to you. Next time we get together, you can let me know what you think of my coaches' rankings in the ACC, 1 to 14. Also, obviously, 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14. Florida State, Clemson, and then they evened out, and then they switched spots. Right around 2014, 15, obviously, is when Clemson flipped the switch and turned the tables on Florida State. I crunched the numbers on the records and the recruiting rankings and how that kind of came together and kind of flipped, but how Florida State still was recruiting with Clemson, just the on-field performance changed. I want to get your perspective again next time on why that flipped and what happened.
I'm definitely interested in seeing the stats. I have an opinion because I have to. Clemson is. I don't consider Clemson a rival, and fans, you know, like to get on me. Clemson. All right, listen, I played. I promise you, when we played Miami and Florida, completely different vibe than when we played Clemson. Clemson, as of late, between when you look at the ACC championships, I can respect it. But a lot of our fans want to be like, well, what happened to Clemson? Why did they get so good in comparison to us? And it's made me look at a lot of stuff. And like I said, I have theories on my own, but I would definitely like to look at the numbers and be able to make a more educated decision on that.
All right, James, good stuff. We always appreciate you stopping by. You have a great night.
All right, Mark, anytime.